Welcome to People's Blessing Show, where conversations spark, ideas ignite, and perspective collide. Get ready for engaging discussions, captivating guests, and thought-provoking insights that will leave you inspired. From current events to personal stories, this is People's Blessing Show with Reverend Blessing Ajayi.
Journey didn't really start in 1993. I came to Canada in 1960. I came at a time when we had no Charter of Rights and Freedom. That didn't come until 1980 something, and we had none of the rules and policies and things that we have today. No discussions around the issue of diversity and inclusion and all of these communities. So I learned how to work as a team. I learned to be respectful of others. I learned that if it's to be, it's up to me. If you want something to happen, you can say, let Pastor do this, or let this other person do this. You get involved.
This is People's Blessing Show with Reverend Blessing Ajayi.
So I want to ask, as a woman, with all the cap you wore, I know you were married, you have children, and all these things you did. How did you do it? Like, tell me how you do it.
Well, I think every person listening to the show, watching the show, all of us have to understand that we play different roles at different times. And that one of the things, too, to juggle motherhood and parenthood and community engagement and job satisfaction and all of those things are like things you're juggling. And women are known to be good jugglers.
Must be a strong trailblazer.
The challenges come, the challenges are there, but it's how you organize yourself. You know, how you organize yourself. When I had young children and I had to be at my school 7 in the morning, or I had to be at the school late in the evenings, then you make allowances for that. And so I always had somebody who would, that I would paid babysitting, paid housekeeping, paid whatever. So something has to give, because you can't be in two places at the same time. And at the same time, I took my children to all of the community activities. I remember Kamala Harris saying her mother took her in a stroller around the demonstrations and whatnot. I used to take my kids to all of the things that are happening in the community. So they knew about community. They knew about meetings. They met people in high esteem. They met people who were struggling, so that they learned the experience very early. So when I had to leave to go to a meeting, they knew what a meeting was. And so I didn't have the pressure of, Mom, you have to stay home. They would say, you have to go to the meeting. Mama's a meeting. They knew about that. At the same time, the issue of the marital, and this again goes back to where we have to talk to the men in our community, to have the men understand what collaboration and partnership and teamwork is within a family setting, so that it's not, I am the man, I go out and I am the breadwinner, and the woman is supposed to be quiet and do all the chores. And I think we see more and more now of our brothers taking up some of the chores. In the early days, you didn't see men walking the kids to daycare or picking them up from daycare, etc. We see this is happening now. So I think,
correct me if I'm wrong.
Yes.
I don't know, but it's like, those days the marriages last longer. The marriages last longer.
Yes.
Than the present age, where some of these things are no longer issues, but the marriages don't really last.
I don't know, but the marriage lasts longer. We can have a big discussion about that. Because I think what happened with women who were socialized to accept the fact that you married for life, that the man is supposed to be whatever. So a lot of our parents and my generation put up with a lot of nonsense from our men. We didn't make them meet the duties that they're supposed to meet as husbands and as fathers and as caregivers to families. And so, despite the fact that we may be there 40 years, 50 years, a lot of it is time of frustration. And so, in today's world, a lot of the young people are saying, "I'm not going to put up with that." when I could cut myself some slack and
be happy.
I know.
no, but we used to allow our husband to go golfing, to go out at night, to go to wherever, to have his own little drinking buddies, to have whatever. And the woman stayed at home, looked after the children, cooked the thing, had his slipper ready by the door.
But now things have changed.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay.
So you see how we said, okay, now let's move on. You don't want to discuss.
No, that's a discussion on its own. I hope I will have opportunity to have to discuss that with you, ma'am, on a different show.
Yeah.
Now, you as a prominent Black Canadian,
yes,
you've also spoken out about the challenges facing your community. You've talked about issues on equitable society and all that. So, what do you believe are the most pressing issues, and how can we work towards creating a more inclusive and equitable society? Most people say we are our own problems, the Blacks. So, what do you think, ma'am?
Well, I think we live in a world where there is all kinds of conflict right now, all around the world. Whether we look at Africa and we see, tribal, and we see other things happening between groups, whether we see, we look at Europe and other places where there is war, or the Middle East. We're in a world now that's really messed up, and where conflict and where love for each other and where do unto others seem to not be the quotes and, love thy neighbor as thyself that we're supposed to live by. At the same time, in our community, I think it's important for us to recognize that we are our brother's keeper, that we have to work towards ensuring that the society responds to us. But we have a responsibility to involve ourselves in the society. We have a responsibility to know. I'm surprised when someone seems not to know who the school trustee is, that their kids are going to that school, and who is the trustee that has responsibility, or they don't know who their city councilor is. We have a responsibility to also continually engage ourselves, inform ourselves, and learn about the world around us. I think it's important for us also to recognize that racism is in the society. We all have a responsibility to push towards and to have that understanding. And Canadian society has to realize that anti-Black racism is still with us, despite all of the rules, despite all of the legislation, despite all the things that we say. That anti-Black racism. And until we could defeat all those notions, we still have a lot of work to do. But we as a community have to be participating. We as a community have to be constantly teaching. We as a community have to be constantly alert to those things around us that are not inclusive. We as a society have to be alert to what happens in the workplace that somehow keep us at a certain level within any organization. And so it's kind of like a coin. On the one hand, we have to hold society responsible for all the anti-Black racism, Islamophobia, all of the stuff that happens in the society. And at the same time, we ourselves can't just sit back. We also have to make sure that we are participants in a society that's moving towards inclusiveness, respect, and where diversity is acknowledged.
Wow, thank you so much. I know we will soon let you go now. You answered quite a lot of questions. But before we go, what advice would you give to young people, particularly women and girls, although men too need your advice, right? Who are looking to make positive impact also in their communities and the world at large?
Well, I think I've said quite a few things about that. One is that you cannot stay in your silo, that you have to get out there. You have to join a group, join a club, join an association, join a church, be part of activists and activism things that are happening in the community.
Yeah, very important.
So that is important. And young people should get engaged and involved. The whole issue of volunteering, right? Not everything has to be money, but just volunteering so that you be in the presence of mentors and role models and seniors and elders, where discussions of the history and where we came from and some of the experiences of the people. That intergenerational communication has to happen when young people come into the circle. For us and for all for yourselves, there's a whole business of be a mentor. Be a mentor to someone. Encourage the young people to stay in school. Encourage that young person to seek out and find sometimes ways to show them where they can apply for a scholarship or they can apply for a bursary or make them aware of the fact that there is support. Ask for a reference. Ask someone to speak to someone on their behalf if they're experiencing difficulties. So I think our young people need to know, find a role model, find a mentor, find a community, be participatory in different things, whether it's a volunteer, but at the same time, know that they too have to become involved.
Yes.
Clubs in school, joining different things, being part of the choir, being part of a club, being part of a musical group, be associating with others and associating with others who are doing inspirational things.
Very important.
Lastly, from me, thank you so much, Ma. This is a great honor, and this has been so illuminating. Now, please, could you just tell us about the Jean Augustine Center for Young Women, if you don't mind?
Yes.
Why did you
The
start it?
Center for the Jean Augustine Center for Young Women's Empowerment started as an idea I had way back when. I used to go to a hairdresser that was on the lake shore. And in those days, I'm talking now about the mid-80s and into the 90s, used to see young women, young girls just hanging on the outside, especially in the good weather. Number of them were teenagers, teenage pregnancy, and was at the time kind of high. And I used to think, my goodness, these girls need to have something in the community, some place in the community that would help them to develop skills, to find opportunities, and then started talking around and found a developer in the area who also was concerned about young girls. And so we started to collaborate, to talk about what we can do. He had a pocket and I had the idea. And so we started talking about what we can do for the young girls and how we could encourage, how we can motivate, how we can build self-esteem. And over the years, the research, we've done a number of research, what there is in the area that could, data collecting of who is in the area, what it is we're finding out. What we found out, a lot of the young girls were at 3:30 when school was over, they were going home to empty houses, empty condos, empty basements, empty places where the risk of them being in danger, unsafe, happened. And so we thought, let's do something that 3:30 to 6:30. So by the time they get home, parents would be home. So they come directly from the school to the center. And we work on 4 pillars: financial literacy, teaching them about money, teaching them about savings, teaching them about credit card, teaching them, all of this stuff that is important, teaching them that if you have $5, that you can go to the supermarket on the corner and you can buy some stuff and have 2 meals. Whereas if you go to McDonald's with it, So, and then we have a kitchen. And so huge industrial kitchen. So we do cooking and life skills. We have sewing machines so that, they learn to sew a button or to hem a skirt. And we have art. And at the same time, we focus on STEM programs, on non-traditional jobs, on computer literacy. And we bring people in. And then we do the other things like mindfulness and things that would motivate, inspire, and help young people. We have developed now a teen room where we give the teens opportunity to get together and plan opportunities. Also, to associate with university volunteers. So we have Ontario Institute for Studies in Education. We have George Brown, Humber College, all of these people who come in and out so that the girls get an opportunity. And I also find the people that I ask to come and talk about their role, how they got to where they what they needed as requirement, what and how their world operate. So I think what we try to do is empower, because that is what the center is called, the Center for Young Women's Empowerment. And so we're preparing them for this world where, as young women, they could play their role and be a participant in Canadian society.
Wow, thank you so much. I guess this is the last question for the day.
Yes.
Where do you see the Black community and Canada going from here, especially with the election coming up next? I know we're just predicting, like.
Well, I think the Black community is building and has to continue to build. And what you're doing here, when I come in and I see the BCCTV, the work that you're doing and the work that you're doing in community, the fact that that you have the city councillors and the mayor aware of what you're doing, so you can get that level of support, and you have also recognizing that we're in a position now where, coming out of COVID, we have mental health and mental health issues. I was just reading a study about what has happened to our young people as a result of COVID and the fact that they were not associating with peers and being in an environment of whatever. So those stories. You need to bring the resources together to assist parents who are struggling, and we need to be participants in everything that happens in the society. And we need to get out there and vote, because it's important for us to participate in that area. We all can't put our eggs all in one basket. We could be everywhere, but at the same time we have to know what it is we want of the people who represent us and what it is that we would like to see in the society. I started out with a party that was nation building at the time. And we were talking about how, the recognizing of our indigenous peoples, the immigration issues, as we look at people who are coming from different parts of the world. And I think that people in the Black community, whether they're recent comers or whatnot, should be aware and should be asking questions and learning about the importance of participation. The whole business of just listening to slogans or listening to people who are just talking at the top of their head, or going to social media and learning from that. That's not really the route to really educate oneself. To be a full participant in Canadian society. So that's where I would like to see the Black community's engagement and that we need to put our names forward to run and to participate at the political level, because the opportunity is there, the time is there, and for us it has to be now. We can't watch other communities
Take over everything.
filling the chambers in Queen's Park and in Parliament Hill without our participation. So
That's
if
true.
we want to move, we have to be in there, and our voices have to be heard.
We have to, yeah. So I want to ask one question again.
I thought we had
Just one. Something just came to my mind, right? In the area of the elections, right? Like, I feel that Black community participants, those who aspire to participate, are not very motivated because of lack of support. I see that most people that want to run for election, they struggle a lot because they don't have the resources. So
Well,
I don't know how you can do.
the thing is that if one decides that one wants to be in the political arena, you don't wait until the election is called, whatever, and then you put your name out there.
Okay.
You have to build. You have to build a community. You have to build a constituency. You have to have a team of people who would support you, and these people would go out and extend your circle.
Okay.
You also have to have a team to raise the necessary monies, because everything in that you do would involve paying for it, having the money for it.
Exactly.
Very few people give credit to someone to do flyers for them or do signs for them, because if they lose at the end, then it's hard to. So they look for money up front. So you have to have a team, a good team that's raising money, so that the candidate does not have to be the one out there, but the candidate has a team that's doing the raising of the money. The candidate also has to be prepared. A lot of candidates sometimes are not prepared. They don't ask questions. They don't go and sit at someone's feet and whatnot. We have Operation Black Vote Canada. It's an organization that does training, that does in service, that put people together with with other people who've been there. So you get there and you learn from each other. You go to, if you're running for City Hall, you go and sit in on meetings that's happening, so that you have a sense as to what the discussion is, what the topic is about. Or you go into where things are happening so that you learn. So it's not a haphazard thing. Yeah. I'm popular now, so I'm going to go out there. That's not it.
Okay.
You have to prepare yourself. You have to have a team to build that constituent thing, who would go knocking at doors and finding people and building that team. You have to have a financial team that's going to be out there, separate from the others, raising the money, doing whatever, raising the money for you. And then you have to be cognizant and conversant with what the issues are.
That's very good. I know why I asked that question. I know they'll put it last, because most of our community are aspirant for election. They don't prepare. And at the end of it, it seems as if they are not coordinated, they don't have the fund that they needed. And you've just answered it. I hope someone that will be watching it will know that, those who aspire to contest the next election. So thank you so much. Thank you so much, Ma. We are very, very blessed and happy to have you here today.
Thank you, Ma.
This is People's Blessing Show with Reverend Blessing Ajayi.